So hey guys, so now we are going to learn about mitral stenosis. So what is mitral stenosis? Mitral stenosis is actually a valvular heart disease in which there is narrowing of the opening of the mitral valve, because of which the blood does not enter properly from the left atrium to the left ventricle. Okay, so there are many causes for mitral stenosis. One of the main causes rheumatic fever. About 40% of the people with rheumatic fever has mitral stenosis. So what happens here is there will be like fusion of the chordate fusion of the mitral commissaires. There will be like thickening of the leaflets, fibrosis, calcification that is happening on the leaflets. There will also be like rigidity, increased rigidity in the cusps. So these are some of the things that is happening, because of which the opening of that mitral valve will look like O shape, that is fish mouth appearance. So this is like important question, fish mouth appearance of mitral stenosis in rheumatic fever. Okay, so other main reasons are like common reasons are like congenital, it can happen when there is more than one atrium, it can happen like cotriatrichum. It can happen in like autoimmune diseases like SLE and rheumatic arthritis. Can happen in myxoma, left atrial myxoma. It can happen in like infective disorders like infective endocarditis when vegetations are extensive. These are some of the common reasons why mitral stenosis occurs. Okay, now what are the pathophysiology of mitral stenosis? This is like so interesting. So what happens, here is the left atrium, here is the left ventricle. So what happens, as the blood does not enter properly into the left ventricle, the left atrium will get like high pressure. The pressure in the left atrium will increase, because of which dilation will take place. Okay, dilation of the left atrium will take place. Because of this dilation, two things can happen. One thing is more stasis of blood is occurring here. Okay, more pooling of the blood is occurring here. Second thing is, when the left atrium was normal like this, there was like transmission of signals from the SA node to AV node. So there is direct transmission was there. Like here another one transmission was there. Both the transmission almost touched, the conduction touched the AV node at the same time. Because of the dilation, what happened is this electrical conduction from here to the AV node needed to take a longer distance, and so the time also varied. Because of which one here signal came fast, here it took a longer time. So randomly the AV node got conducted. Because of this, atrial fibrillation occurred. Okay, so because of both atrial fibrillation and stasis, what happened is thrombosis happened. This is one pathophysiology. Another one thing is, so here atrium is there. Now from pulmonary vein it will reach the lungs. Okay, so through the pulmonary vein, here extra pressure was there, high pressure in the left atrium. There was a backtracking of the pressure. So from the high pressure in the pulmonary vein was there. Now it reached the lungs. So because of the congestion of the pulmonary vein, what happened is edema, pulmonary edema occurred, and the patient suffered from like common symptoms like dyspnea and cough. Okay, now again backtracking of the pressure reached the pulmonary artery circulation. So pulmonary artery, because of this backtracking of the pressure was increased. Many other reasons for increase in the pulmonary artery pressure is increased in the pressure, congestion in the pulmonary vein. A secondary vasoconstriction took place in the pulmonary artery. That is called secondary stenosis. Because of this vasoconstriction, pressure increased. Pressure increased because of the edema. Pressure increased because of the obliteration that took place, obliteration of the endothelium. Because of all these reasons, pulmonary artery pressure increased. Now we reach the right side of the heart. In right side of the heart, what happened is tricuspid regurgitation took place, and also sometimes at last it leads to right side failure, right side heart failure. So due to small valve problem, the whole system got collapsed. Okay, so usually these mitral stenosis occurs in like developing countries more frequently because of less hygiene compared to the developed countries. Also, the common surface area, what happens to the surface area in mitral stenosis, it keeps on decreasing. Okay, first it was around like 4 to 6 centimeters square. That is a normal mitral valve surface area. It kept on decreasing. In severe case, it was less than 1.5 centimeters square. In very severe case, it was less than 1 centimeter square. So what we see happens in cardiac output is, in case of cardiac output, it decreased. Okay, in case of cardiac output, during severe case, not very severe. During severe case, that is less than 1.5 centimeter square, there was decrease in the cardiac output almost remained the same. Okay, almost same. Or except for exertion and like excitement like activities, except for that, cardiac output remained the same. But when in very severe case, not much blood is entering into the ventricle, so not much is pumped outside, so cardiac output decreased in the very severe case of mitral stenosis. Okay, so now next we are going to see about the symptoms of the people who are suffering from this mitral stenosis. So initially, when everything, the cardiac output is normal, when the volume of the blood was almost normal, that is pumped out is normal, during that time what happened is there is not much symptom. Okay, so during that time, only during exertion, excitement, very when the person is doing activities that like exertionally, during that time cough and dyspnea are the only symptoms that occurs. But as it gets surfaced, it kept on decreasing. When the cardiac output kept on decreasing, during that time the person got extra symptoms like orthopnea, T&D, and also dyspnea. Okay, these all happened. Also the person suffered from like recurrent infections and thrombosis. The people kept on like getting affected by the infection during winter season, and also these people got hemoptysis because of high pressure in the whole circulation, in the like lung circulation, like pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein. Because of that, small veins and small arteries got like obliterated, like ruptured. Because of that, hemoptysis took place. This happens in only like later stages. So these are all some of the symptoms of the mitral stenosis. So now, as a doctor, what are the signs we see in them? We saw the symptoms. So what are the signs we see in them? So as soon as we see the patients, we see malar flush in them. Because of high amount of in the cheeks malar flush, the red color, because of carbon dioxide increase in the blood. Because not much blood is pumped out, so not much blood is oxygenated in them. So they will have more CO2 in their blood. So what happened? Malar flush is seen in their cheeks on inspection. Then we will see there is a cyanotic face. Their face look more cyanotic because less amount of oxygen only was present in their blood. Okay, and we also saw the JVP being elevated. So elevated JVP, because sometimes right heart failure means elevated JVP will be there, right? So JVP got elevated. These are some inspectory findings. And if the palpation means sometimes in these patients we can feel the thrill in them. The thrill, if we touch the left apex and see, we can feel the heart apex and see, we'll feel thrill in them. Okay, now auscultatory changes is also interesting. So what happens is, first S1 sound. The S1 sound is like heard later and also it's louder because of it's tough to close the mitral valve, fibrosed mitral valve, it's tough to close it. And S2 is also slightly elevated because of high pulmonary artery pressure. It's also difficult to close the aortic and pulmonary wall. Okay, so because of that, S2 is also slightly elevated. As soon as there is S2 sound, what happens is there is something called as opening snap sound will be there. That is like the characteristic snap sound because of opening of the mitral valve for filling of the left ventricle. So this because there is high pressure and because it's fibrotic or maybe calcified valve, what will happen is it's difficult to open it completely. So there will be like opening snap sound that will be happening. As soon as the opening snap sound comes, there will be like diastolic murmur that is occurring at expiration. Okay, this diastolic murmur is actually like a rumbling sound that happens because usually you see you have a hose in your hand and you're like you're closing the hose completely and you're like spraying water. There will be a sound, right? Similar thing happens. It's not open fully, so it's slightly open. So high pressure blood, when it enters, it'll be like shh, it's like sound will come. So that is diastolic murmur will be there. Okay, this is what normally it happens in heart, like due to mitral valve stenosis. Okay, so these are the auscultatory findings. And also sometimes there is called as presystolic accentuation that takes place. Because of like the blood enters passively. Next what happens, left atrium will like the systole will take place. Okay, left atrial systole will take place. Because of that, more blood will enter, right? That sound will accentuate, the increase. So that is called presystolic accentuation that is taking place. This is another type of murmur. Okay, so openings like S1 elevated, S2 elevated, opening snap, like diastolic murmur, pre-systolic accentuation. That's it. Okay. Now, in other, like right side also some problems occurring because of the mitral stenosis. Like, so because of that, what happens? So another one murmur occurs in right side because of tricuspid regurgitation. So that is pansystolic murmur. Okay. During this time, during the right heart failure time, what happens is actually there will be like a silent murmur. Everything got worsened so badly that mitral valve is not even opening. So what will happen? There will be like silent murmur. We can't hear like pre-systolic murmur. Sorry, we can't hear the normal murmur, diastolic murmur during that time. Okay, so we will hear only this increased pansystolic murmur only we will be hearing. There will be like during inspiration pansystolic murmur will be heard more, and during expiration it will decrease and disappear. This sign is called as Carvalho sign. Okay, so pansystolic murmur because of tricuspid regurgitation. So there is another type of murmur that is seen also, that is called as Gram-Steele murmur. This Gram-Steele murmur occurs between S2 and also opening snap. So this Gram-Steele murmur is actually a decrescendo and like slow soft murmur. This usually occurs because of pulmonary hypertension, because it's difficult to like open the pulmonary ring, right, pulmonary valve ring, because of the difficulty in opening the pulmonary valve ring due to pulmonary hypertension. This Gram-Steele murmur occurs. So these are all some of the murmurs that are taking place because of mitral stenosis. Now it's time for laboratory examination. What are the different using non-invasive examination? What are we going to see? So first, as usual, heart ECG. So in ECG, because of the left atrium hypertrophy dilation, usually it's elevated. P wave is elevated. In P wave, there are two leads. There is different in leads also. So first, if we see in the lead 2, there will be elevation of there will be the peaked and tall sign will be seen. If we see in the V1, lead V1, what will happen is there will be upright. Okay, upright wave will be seen. So this is what happened in ECG. So next examination, what we are going to see is echocardiogram. In this there is two types, that is transthoracic and transesophageal. In transthoracic is where we see all the important details, like how much calcification has taken place, how much amount of hypertrophy is taking place in the right atrium and left atrium, how much amount of surface area has decreased in the mitral valve, how much surface area has decreased, whether the person is susceptible for doing balloon valvotomy. So these all details we see using transthoracic echocardiogram. Transesophageal echocardiogram, we just do it just before the surgery. So what we see in this is, we see whether there is thrombus formation in the atrium. We see about mean mitral diastolic gradient, how much it is there. We see also whether it is possible to do balloon valvotomy in such persons. So these are what we see in the echocardiogram. Next we are going to see about X-ray. So in X-ray what we are going to see is we can see there is straightening of the left border of the heart because of the left atrial hypertrophy. So straightening of the left border. We can see that there is a double cardiac shadows there, double cardiac border shadows there. We can also see that the hypertrophy of the whole heart is there sometimes. We can easily see the pulmonary artery is more visible comparatively. The esophagus is shifted posteriorly. We can see some horizontal lines called as the curly B lines. Okay, so these are some of the findings we see in X-ray. So again, all this non-invasive examination is over. Next, invasively we do this sometimes. Nowadays it's done very rarely, that is cardiac catheterization. In cardiac catheterization is done only if there is some confusion. If there is discrepancy between the clinical details and non-invasive examination that doesn't match, then we'll do the cardiac catheterization. We do this also when there is we do this when the patient is old and we suspect the cardiac artery disorders. During that time we'll do. And we also do this when there is lesions, excess lesions, when aortic regurgitation is present, we are suspecting it, then we'll do we'll do the cardiac catheterizations. So these are all the examinations that we are going to do. Okay. Next we come to medications. Medication is like two types treatment. One is like pharmacologically, one is surgically. First, if pharmacologically is done in moderate MS or in like mild MS, we do it. So what we give usually, you can think and say. So thrombosis is occurring like lot. So what we'll do? Warfarin to prevent the thrombosis. So warfarin is given. Then we can give the patient like beta blockers or like digitalis glycosides to them because to decrease the ventricular rate. Okay, for this we can give them both, and we can give them penicillin prophylaxisly because these people get more recurrent infection. We read earlier, right? Recurrent infections during winter season. During that time, we can give them penicillin treatment prophylaxisly. These are some of the treatment, and sometimes like when the atrial fibrillation is like in the starting stage, not much problem. But if it gets worse and that is it's like present for more than 1 year, so what we'll do it, we'll like give cardioversion to the patients. Not pharmacologically we don't solve, we give cardioversion, that is like electric shock to this person, and we bring it back, the rhythm back to the sinus rhythm. Okay, these are all the treatment we give pharmacologically. Another is surgery. Surgery, there are like different types is there. The less invasive and which has less mortality rate is like the mitral valvotomy. Mitral valvotomy is what we do. What we do is they will put a like small hole in the transeptal like small puncture we do. We enter to the left atrium. We then dilate the balloon. Okay, that is balloon valvotomy, right? So we just dilate the balloon in the cusp, near the cusp. So what happens if there is like we usually do this only when the person don't have extensive calcification and all. So we have a certain score like echo score we say. This echo score if there is like lesser amount of echo score, we can do balloon valvotomy. Higher score we'll do open surgery. Okay. This echo score is done using like 4 to 5 factors. That is how much amount of calcification is there, whether the valve is like pliable, whether it is like easily pliable, or how much amount of thickening is there, how much amount of the mobility is there, like more present in the valve. With this we come to conclusion. Okay. So this is balloon valvotomy, has less mortality rate. Okay, if it is very very worse, if it is like thickened very extensively means, or it's like damaged so much, or we have already done balloon valvotomy and it has not improved, so we do open surgery. In open surgery what we do is we saw earlier, right, in rheumatic fever we saw earlier, right, the caudate NED has fused. We'll remove all this fusion, the commissural fusions will remove, these fusions we remove, and we'll remove all the calcification and fibrosis. So with that what will happen is the surface area will increase, and also the mean mitral diastolic gradient will decrease by half. So we'll do this open surgical valvotomy in such patients. Okay. Another one thing, even after this, if it gets worse and worse, or we damage the valve during the surgery, we'll do total valve replacement, mitral valve replacement we do, but this has very very high risk, but we do only when the person has reached like saturation point, we do this. So in this we leave some of the structures left, like commissure and every valve and all, valve ring and all, we'll leave like that itself. So the person won't some amount of structure is remains for it to like develop. Okay, so we'll synthetically develop a valve completely. So that's it on mitral stenosis. Hope you understood it. Thank you very much.